All right, hey there traders, Sam here back with another video. This is in response to some requests we received within our Discord for some additional video documentation and representation of the application of the GridAlgo package. Right now, this is a newer package. We've talked about it. We've done a couple of webinars and I've done a few videos, but this is a really good example of how to best, I think, apply this indicator based on the the kind of day that we have. Now, of course, I'm recording this here after the market's closed here now on Tuesday the 3rd. Oh, here I put a yellow stripe here on the market open here, and as I do every video I've ever done here, the initial balance indicator here, you have to have that on. If you don't use ours, you got to draw it yourself, right? Here's a pretty obvious example of how significant it is, right? So here we come back to the retest. That's the IB high, right? Very important. So you have to know where it is. Again, I would tell you, in addition to volume profile, right? These are levels you just have to know where they are, right? You're blind. Okay, right. So that said, again, if you don't use ours, draw them yourself. Okay, so we start here now. One thing that's important with GridAlgo, because you're looking for statistical events where we're beyond, in this case, 90% of where the price action is. Now, when the market's making a big rip-roaring rally, here like this move here, right? And we're screaming higher, right? It almost distorts to your eye a little bit here. I mean, this was a big push. If you were trading today and you were trying to trade the MNQ, I mean that was quite a push. And you see here now, right, after the fact, here we say, oh, God, whoa, what a good-looking signal. Well, there's a couple of things to bear in mind. First, just because we get overbought, oversold, technical, or outside of the range of the bands, that's not a reason to buy or sell by itself, right? It's an indication that perhaps we're a bit overdone here. Again, as it sits here now, always the outside bands are trying to calculate where 90% of the price action is, right? That's what this little outlier here, out percent here, is 9.99. So only 10% of the time, right, are you going to see price action outside of the bands. But you have to remember that, particularly on a day like this, where the market is really screaming higher, I guess this is a personal choice, but when I see that, because we were well outside of the bands, really, earlier in the day, the bands were about here. And as we started to push higher, it's going so far outside of the bands, one of the choices you have is to just punch in F5 and rerun the script. So what it's going to do is it's going to recalibrate to get you to that 90% based on the current volatility. So I did that a couple of times today because we were pushing so far. Now, again, it's getting outside of the bands. Okay, that's a heads up, but there has to be more there. Now, one of the things that I put additionally on the chart here, well, of course, I'm always going to have volume profile, always. You have to know where the high and low volume nodes are, right? Have to, right? I would encourage you, right? Again, if you don't use ours, use someone else's or Native Ninja, but pretty valuable to see where those areas are. Additionally, what I put on here was our support and resistance indicator, because here's a pretty good example down here at the low. Now it's 4 in the morning, right? I mean, for me here in Texas, right? I'm not up to be trading that. And you see here, this recalibrates here, but that's after I've run the script. So this actually, right, wasn't affected by rerunning the script. It was when we got outside up here. I don't want to confuse you with that. You'd have to demo it and kind of play with it a little bit, but we were well outside of the bands here, right? So I recalibrate. My broader point here, we want to look for confluence between areas of supply and demand. There's a distinction, right? Support and resistance, supply and demand. Well, what you're seeing here is support and resistance, right? This is going to be prior areas on a higher time frame. Right now, I'm using the 15-minute time frame here, but I've only got 10 days of data here. Now, I may not be able to get all of the support and resistance or supply and demand, depending how you want to look at it, with 10 days of data on a 30 brick Renko bar chart, right? I may need more data. So I have two choices. Well, I can load more days, but that has a tendency that can slow Ninja down, right? It does a lot of processing depending on how many indicators you're running, how many charts, how many markets you're tracking. So the alternative to that, so one choice, right, is to use support and resistance as I've done here. I'm using, these are just default settings, right? I asked for 20 different zones to show up because I didn't want to miss anything. And I'm using 16 bars on either side, right? So a strength of 16 for it to qualify as support or resistance. Now I'm using the 15-minute because I want to know if we're pumping outside of the bands, are we running into support and resistance? Excuse me. So here, I mean, pretty nice example here. You know, here I'd have to be looking at a 15-minute chart to see if there was some reason here. But my point being, it's not enough by itself to just be, oh, I'm out of the bands, I got to sell it. So what you'll note here, and really there were a couple of really good trades here, but this by far was the if you're applying GridAlgo, that was the trade of the day right there. And you had to wait, right? It's frustrating, right? See the market going up here, and you're like, well, like, okay, well, if I'm not going to be a buyer on the way up, or if I'd missed, or whatever, for whatever reason, you're not participating in that rally. Well, what are you're looking for an opportunity to sell it? Well, maybe you're not, right? That's what I'm looking for. I'm going, well, God, if we're going to run this hot, right, are we going to close up here, or potentially is there going to need to be, are we going to run out of buyers up here, right, and then need to come back and grab some liquidity, which is exactly what the market does. Now here, this was news, right? As I had the news indicator on before, but I took it off. This was news that causes this punch, right? We come back down. Where do we stop? Pre-market high again, right? That shows up in our initial balance indicator, right? So you have to know where those are. Okay, so we come right down to the pre-market high where we bounce, right? Not coincidentally. I want to show you. I'm just getting started here in terms of all the coincidences in here. So here's our open, and this is very typical. Most of you know, right? The opening move is almost always a fade to whatever was happening pre-market, right? Because who gets sucked in here at the open thinking, oh, we're screaming higher? Retail, they get their hopes and dreams crushed right here. So all of that liquidity is picked up as they take it straight down, right? Algos, institutions, whomever they, you want to interpret they is. Straight down, right? It just crushed retail, right? And then retail's a little. So the first thing retail's done is getting blown out here, so they're a little reluctant, right? So as the market going up, right? Well, they're a little tend to be. I'm generalizing. Tend to be a little gun shy, right? Oh shit, they just got the face plant on the opening drive because they don't. Just lack of experience, right? This is very common, right? It's not every day, right? There are going to be days where you just scream higher, but to rip down from the opening move and retrace 90% of it, very, very common. So you let the market open a little bit here. Now you can see here, right? Remember there's two sets of bands here, right? So you want to kind of watch the inside bands as well. Always the greater opportunity, if you're applying the GridAlgo methodology here, is going to be when you get outside of the white bands. When you get outside, but we have little bands as well inside. So it's a bit of a judgment call, and again, there would have to be more than just, I'm outside of the internal bands. I guess I should take a long or a short. You want to use these as kind of guidelines for potential overextension causing a potential reversion to the mean. Now, if you were, maybe you caught some of this early price action, but after the reset of the F5 to recalibrate this, so we're holding here at our 90% self-contained, right? That's what we're trying to do. And as I said, I hit it twice, right, as we were driving higher to recalibrate. Well, finally I get a recalibration up here that starts to make sense to me, because this right here is this right here. So I can look at that and say, okay, there has to be a reason. I mean, this is just screaming higher. Very hard to sell that. Or is it, right? Because if you're approaching this from a supply and demand basis, right? Well, we have an order block here, and then I have two fair value gaps above, right? And then make a case there'd be another one up above, but let's just go with what we can see here. There was actually another one that got right here that got blown out, right? So there was another one right here. The market got to it, retraced it a bit, and then we went back up here, and we're coming right into the very highest location here. Well, you can see here this, because I have it set to where it'll draw on both of the bars. When we hit this, we were very close to outside of the bars, and then as we pushed higher, again, that's why I hit F5 and recalibrated again. But I wanted you to see that we're pushing into those areas of potential, right? You've got huge fair value gaps up there and an order block that would make sense. Okay, well now I get a little bit more conviction here. Oh, let me get that back. Let's push this off to the side. I get a little bit more conviction when I'm looking here, if I can try and model these two, right here, when I see where I am right here. Now, it's worthwhile, right? Again, if you're applying the tools that are part of the GridAlgo system, well, okay, we're outside of the bands here, but we're still, right, the little EMA cloud hasn't rolled over yet, and we haven't broken the internal, it's an ATR kind of a stop kind of thing. We haven't broken through that. So here, as we break it, now I've got a lot of things that have happened. I've tapped into this, this imbalance above here as I've wicked on just beyond the order block here, into this imbalance here. That coincidentally happens to be the edge of the value area here, because again, this is such a huge move. But from here, we start to come down. Now here, all of the ingredients right here as we head lower. And I did take this trade here. I'll show you the entries. My first target here was just to get to the median line. Now there's a little bit more here because again, this is recalibrated here, but at that moment in time there was a high volume node here. I guess, if I can do this. You pull it over here. There was a high volume node here. So to make it to the center line where we had a high volume node here, you could see the potential for this to potentially pop here and then go higher. We get a little second kick and then the little ABC that takes us to the IB high, right, where we get the bounce. Okay, well, there's a little more in there, which I'm going to get to in a second, but that is fundamentally just a great example of waiting patiently, waiting. Now we got to get there. So there has to be this confluence between what I'm seeing here, knowing, okay, 90% of the price action is going to be contained within those outer bands. I'm outside of the band. I get the rollover of the EMA cloud. I get the break of the ATR alerts. And it's in conjunction with a higher time frame, right? That's kind of the key to it, right? Is the higher time frame, not just being outside of the bands. It's the two together. Let me open this up again. Now, additionally, right, we don't, when you're applying this, right, we can look down below here for the momentum indicators here, and we can see, right, right at that same time here, as we hit this crossover, that's where the momentum goes negative. We had a couple of spots here where that momentum, let's see if I can do it this way, right? So where do we go negative here? Right here. Now note how it all kind of synchronizes here. We get the push down here. This is going to go too far. But now we start to come back the other direction. And you're seeing the alignment between the EMA cloud, the momentum indicator here. Here's the big push here, push. Now this, I was in early on this. As soon as we broke this, I went short. We didn't catch up here on the momentum because of course there's always going to be a slight lag down here. Any indicator is going to have a slight lag to the price action here, and then we go positive again. It's a little bit late on going positive here. There was another trade here that I'm going to show you, and there were actually a couple with the bounce off of the IB high. Just because again I've been watching this for so many years, I'm not uncomfortable taking a line there. So this being blue or negative here, that's a tradable event, right? You get on the other side of the EMA's flip, and okay, we've got a legitimate target here. Now you're not aiming for new all-time highs. We're winding down the day, and a short on such a massive day like this, it's a little bit of a let me just keep this clean, right? This can be a little uncomfortable, right? Because we've been in this massive trend all day, right? And everything we say, well, trend is your friend, right? So we don't want to go. When you're going counter trend like that, be realistic about your targets. I wasn't looking for new lows here, but to make the center line was a reasonable expectation. Okay, right. So all of that said, this is just kind of a good example of ways you want to try and interpret this. Now, as anyone who's watched any videos of mine, whether on the Trade Devils education side, where I've been posting content for 6 years, or over here on TradeDevils-Indicators, know that I would be the first to tell you that the dominant algo in the market that we can track is the measured move algo that was revealed by David Halsey in his, indispensable book, Trading the Measured Move. All right, so I mean, he revealed it to the world. I think I and my team here, we've we've exposed it to more people than he has. Maybe not. I want to be sure that I'm always giving credit to him for revealing this algo. Right? He spotted it, wrote a book about it. Myself and others have taken it and run with it. We've created indicators around it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to show. I can show it to you two ways. First, I'm going to show it to you if you don't have our measured move indicator, which you can draw these yourself. You can just use the fib tool, right? So let's see. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to show you how consistent this is. It's literally every day. It's almost hard to believe, right? When you see it, right? And if you haven't seen this before, most of you will have seen it, but it's still to this day, it just blows my mind still. Okay, so here's the opening drive down, right? We're gonna crush retail's hopes and dreams. So we swing up. Here's the swing. Here's the retrace directly to a golden zone. Okay, we go up here, right? We get target. Now we retrace. Now if you're going off of this low to this high, that breaks. But what the algo does, the algo doesn't care, right? It'll take the small loser there because the algo will go back a pivot, and now we go up to the new high. Even though we have this other little swing structure in here, we come back here because that's what the algo will do. It'll just go back a pivot. Here we go, golden zone. Targets met. Here, now that puts in the IB high. Now we come all the way back down and we hit another golden zone. But take note, that is not this golden zone. That's from the lower pivot. Because the algo is the algo that was here, it gets stopped out. Right? This guy gets stopped out. Right here. But trust me, they don't care because what will the algo do? Will just go back to the next pivot or to the next pivot. And so now you see what it did. It went from here and come back here, golden zone. Now we go up again and we come back. I think we've got another one in here. Actually, I may have missed it. Believe we get another one. We do. So here's another one. Now we go from this pivot to this high, golden zone. And again, now we get the scream, right? We just go through, we just blow right through the IB high, right? When we don't even pause here, you've got a very strong rally because there's every day there's an algo that sits there ready to fade. First test, right? First test only. But it's so important to the algos. Again, that's why I emphasize this every video I've ever done. You have to know where those are. So we go up. We're screaming higher. Okay, now, in conjunction with what I just showed you earlier, we know we're at an order block. We know we've got an imbalance and a fair value gap up here. So we start to come down. Here's the break of the outer bands. What do? Golden zone at the IB high. Goes through by a wick just to grab any stops that might be there. Now we go straight up here. Now you see a wick go through, but it has to close on the other side of the 65 to break the algo. So the algo stays. Right now, what do? Come down. Golden zone. Now we come back up here. Now here, when I'm going to show you this with our measured move indicator on, it won't show here because it's broken. Right? This one gets broken. When I draw them in, you can see, oh, it broke. Well, now what do we do when we come back down? Golden zone. This is every day, every time frame, every market, period. You do not have to take my word for it. Do it yourself. Do something like this yourself. It will literally, it will completely change your trading life. Once you see this, there's no unseeing it. And you will realize, I mean, if you don't know where these are, right, this is very common, right? People will buy right into it. I've used this analogy many times. You're walking through a minefield with blindfolders on. If you don't know where these are, right? Thus the value of either our measured move indicator or our auto fibs, right? Because you have to know where the next one is, or you'll trade right into it. But trust me, I learned the hard way. Here it is. If I come back here, now I've drawn it just to show you all those examples. If I, hang on, I think I turned it off. Hang on a second. Here, I turn it back on. So again, now there's no repainting at all with measured move indicator. So here's the 15-minute support that we hit at the open. Look at the stack of golden zones that are there. That's because that pivot is hitting all these potential swing lows here. Look, you can just go back. It's absolutely incredible when you see it. Right? There's no unseeing it once you've seen it. Right? Look at the stack here. We call this a ZZ top hat. Right? See, you got this just massive stack. Talk about a safe buy. Place to buy it. right? There's your ZZ top hat. Now that's 4 in the morning for me. I'm not going to be there to trade that. But straight up, golden, 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 right? It's just over and over again. Now here's the one that you don't see because it broke here, right? So it'll take off any that don't. Every time you see one, right? If it's on here, it means that it's either in the process of getting to target or it got to its target. So all of this got to target, 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 target. Right? Every time you see that green line, it's hitting its target. I mean, I could go back. There's no limit to the. I mean, look at these right here, way outside the bands. Right, there's a good example. Right, just because you're outside the bands, you can't. It's got to be in conjunction with some supply and demand. Is there supply up here that would warrant the idea? If I open that up, where's the perfect trade? Right, they don't always do this, but this is the perfect setup. Come here, little thing. Swing. Oh, is it time yet? Retrace right into the pocket of the measured move. Now, you might say, God, well, I don't know. I'm waiting for it to get back in. But look what's happening here, right? We're outside of the bands, and we get the EMA cloud flip. We break the ATR alert. We're heading down, right? And if you want to be a little more conservative, I know it's hindsight. Here, swing, retrace into the EMA cloud. Center line, right? The purple is the center line, right? You're not going to always get right here. You're not going to know, right? It's always easy in hindsight. What if I had held it, right? But here we again, outside of the bands. Now, remember, I've hit F5 a couple of times today during the day, so it's recalibrating this. So this looks good. That looks, boy, it really got hot there. But what it's done is recalibrated to contain white bands, 90% of the price action. So don't feel like, oh, well, if you ran the script, right? Well, now that's all bullshit, right? Because it's repainted. That's the wrong way to think of it. Right? The right way to think of it is I'm recalibrating because the price action is so extreme. I need to rerun the script so I can get the right numbers here to contain 90% of it. Who cares well, okay, great, that looks good, but it's not looking good here because the bands are here. It's looking good here because of all the measured moves here, because of the support that was here. That it just happens to be with the recalibration here that we end up outside of the bands. Right, hopefully that makes sense. So I mean, can you use this thing without some other information? Sure, but I would strongly encourage you to continue to look for your measured moves, right? Because there is no escaping it ever in any market at any time frame. It dominates all price action. As I've said, for 6 years, it's not why it moves, it's how it moves. Okay, that should give you a few things to think about. Oh, I think I had this. I had the trades on here. Hang on a second. So, these are the trades I took with us today. It's not all I use, right? But when I'm going to prep for a video here, I'm going to trade it for the day. So, this was a pretty good one, other than this long wait here, like, it's going without me. But the opportunity was there. So you can see right here, actually, at that moment in time, we were outside the bands. Remember, the bands have been recalibrated because of this massive move here. At this section right here, at that moment in time, we were outside of the bands. Now you see it here. We're outside of the inner bands, but we're not outside of the outer bands because after the recalibration to contain this, right? It pushes the bands up. So at that moment in time here, this was at the bands. Well, nice pop. Where do we fall? And you can see my target, golden zone. Then we go up here again, right? Now here's the one that I was talking about earlier, right? So once I broke that, I'm in and I'm going right down here, and I can see that I get the midline here. There was a high volume node here that was a little bit more emphasized here earlier in the day here, and this is my first target. Okay, now we come down here. Oh, let's see if I can draw it. We come down here. Now again, because I watch this every day, I know that, hey, if we bounce at the IB here, there's a chance we're popping higher. So I take the long here. And then this is, I'm usually done. I don't trade in that last 15 minutes, right? Rarely, right? Unless I know something's coming, right? So, no losers all day. Winner, 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 right? Just, okay. I wasn't trading 20 lots, but, a decent day, right? Certainly something you can start to leverage. And if you're trading, as so many of our members do, if you're trading multiple prop accounts, well, you can make $300-400 here, right? X number of accounts, right? How many accounts are you copy trading here? That can be a meaningful day. But the key to the whole thing was waiting. Now we get way outside. Don't hesitate to recalibrate, because you need to recalibrate, because the math has to accommodate this volatility. Math being calculating for 90% of the price action. So hopefully that gives you some things to think about here and how you might approach this, and not, you don't have to forget about everything else we've taught you over the years, or any of the other tools you might be using. So often, right, I might be staring at a footprint chart here, or a higher time, or whatever, right? Doesn't matter here. I will keep this off on the side, because if I get up here, I'm like, oh, heads up, right? If that happens to be at the right location like this, well, here, I've got our market structure indicator, which of course I'm going to have up every day. We get into this kind of area. Well, okay, well now it makes sense to me as to why we might get a reaction here. I'm not, obviously, right? You can keep going on a day like today, but if this is a lot of smart money traders will teach this, right? We've come all the way down here. The opportunity, which is difficult to wait for, is waiting for it to come all the way back up here and tap the supply up here. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we're coming down here, but you can understand the reaction here. Okay, guys. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay, with that, I'll wish you guys good trading. Reminder, you can, of course, we have this product available for Quant Tower as well. It'll be the exact same there. All of our products are available for a 7-day free trial. If you want to, kind of check this Quant Tower out, or the GridAlgo out, whether on Ninja or Quant Tower. I'm just more familiar with, more comfortable on Ninja, which is why I show it here. 7-day free trial. Put it up, right? Watch it in sim. Maybe take a little trade here and there, right? Again, but make sure it's not enough to be outside the bands. Got to be in conjunction with higher time frame. Okay, guys. With that, wish you good trading.